I don't need to marry a millionaire. I would become a millionaire myself, but I have to become somebody first.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Wassup Conversations, a podcast with inspiring storytellers across different mediums and crafts. I'm your host, Hamid Reza Nikoufar. In this episode, my guest is an Oscar-nominated actress for the 2003 film House of Sand and Fog, and Emmy winner for House of Saddam. You may know her as Admiral Shalaron in Mass Effect games or Lakshmi 2 in Destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is no one but the legendary Shohreh Aghdashloo. Shohreh is a force of nature. She does the impossible. Her art travels all across the globe, and her fans are eager to see her way of looking at life. She's one of the most humble people I've ever had the privilege to meet, and during our conversations, I learned so many important things about life and her impactful art. This conversation is separated in two different episodes. The first part is in English, and we talk about Shohreh's beautiful way of looking at life and her career, her voice in video games, and the way she approaches each role. The second part, which will come out after this episode, is in Persian. Shohreh is also from Iran, just like yours truly, and we'll talk about so many awesome other things in that episode. Before we begin, please make sure to subscribe and like this video on YouTube or wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. Also, it would be a huge help if you could support us via the link in the description. It would help us to continue and have more conversations with people that inspire us. You can learn more about Wassup Conversations from nikoufarmusic.com. Thank you very much. Let's have fun. Hello and welcome to Wassup Conversations, Shohreh June. How are you, girl?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice t-shirt. Nice t-shirt.
But I love you.
Who wrote it better? Yours is better.
That.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
It's better. Shall we ask our audience
to let us know? Yeah, and that's a very fair competition, right? They're gonna say my t-shirt is better.
I love the color of your t-shirt.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So, how was your pandemic year? What did you do during that crazy time?
Great. I did great. I did a lot, to be honest with you. It was amazing. The moment I realized that this is it, it's not a joke. I cannot get out. I cannot mingle with my friends. I cannot do certain stuff. But then I have time on my hand. So I started, first and foremost, I started writing a sequel to my memoir.
Wow.
I published a memoir a couple of years ago. Yep. And the publishing company kept asking me, why don't you do a sequel? It's been very successful. And it's been now a couple of years. But I literally didn't have time to do it. So I started writing my memoir, the sequel. And then I thought, okay, it's time to pay more attention to social media. To be honest with you, until 2 years ago, I wasn't into social media. I just opened accounts, social platforms, just for the sake of my people, agent, manager, publicist, people whom I'm working with. They all kept telling me, you need platforms, you need to get involved with social medias. But I didn't have time. So when Corona happened, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to be creative. And this is the part of my life that I love the best, because every time I become creative, I feel young, I feel relative, I feel like I'm building something here that gives me a certain energy to go ahead and do even more. So first thing that came to my mind was, how do people like myself, actors, actresses, how do they spend their time during the day? We all know everybody's at home. Nobody's partying. Nobody's working. So what do? All these spoiled actors who are used to somebody else making up their bed or bringing them their coffee. What are they going to do? Obviously, they're going to do all the chores themselves. They're going to make coffee for themselves. They're going to change bed. They're going to broom their home. Inevitable. So I started taking a couple of pictures of this so-called actress who is now in Corona, caught at home and trying to become useful, to be more useful. And I posted those pictures. And I decided that this actress, because she's missing, and you realize I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
And I'm a third party person. Because when I try to do something for social media, I try to detach myself and do something for the people. Therefore, I look at myself as a third party here. And I thought, okay, they're going to miss their time, their glamorous time in Hollywood. Therefore, they're going to put a nice, beautiful, expensive gown on and start grooming, because this is the only way to, not only remind yourself of who you used to be, but also to remind of yourself the fact that this shall pass too. Let's have fun. Those pictures were ever so successful. People related to them so well. So I started creating even more clips and pictures and stuff. In the meantime, I've been in this house for almost 20 years now, but never had a chance to go to every corner to find out where exactly everything is. So I started bringing everything out, as we call it, khune tekuni in Farsi.
Yeah.
Trying to clean up the whole house, bring everything out and see for real what I have and what I do not have. And believe it or not, I found stuff that I had not seen around for 20 years. I went to the attic and I'm like, oh my God, all the pictures from Vatican. And one of my movies was premiered at Vatican, and I had like 500 pictures of that event, but I couldn't find them. I found stuff that I had lost for 20 years. In other words, and while doing this, I took a journey inside, asking myself questions. What are you doing? What brought you here? What do you want to do next? Are you happy with yourself? Are you trying to analyze myself? And that journey within taught me a lot.
Yeah,
so, I can say I've been busy.
yeah, that's great. That's a great way to deal with that. And continuing that, I was going to ask you about this. I was thinking, what is the most important question that I could ask Shohreh? And this question came to my mind, and that only you could answer that. And it's a very important and personal question for me. Now that you're this very famous, successful, and influential artist, how do you see the path in front of you? Is this the ultimate thing in life? If I get very famous and fortunate and hopefully beautiful as you, do you think then I would say that, okay, this life done, I did it. Now I'm complete. I'm enough. Or there's more than just that we represent or expect from life?
Make it as short as possible. Life is a journey. We're all on a journey. And this journey ends when we die, when we leave this world. There's no such thing as arriving at your destination in life. You just keep traveling. You just keep discovering, exploring ideas, finding new paths, trying to stay relative as much as possible, and try to be creative as much as possible. Therefore, you try to find new paths in order to be even more useful. If it's voice, okay, I'll do voice for you. You want acting? I'll act out for you. What else do you need me to do for you? Do you need me to be creative and come up with short stories? I'll do short stories for you. There is no end to creativity. Acting is all about creativity. Interacting is really acting. That's what I call interacting. For me is acting. Acting is being creative. So no matter how old you are, how far you are, how famous and how fortunate you have been in your life, you still need to be creative, young and vivacious, and can imagine wild, wild, wild things that you can imagine in life. There is no such thing as arriving at the destination. Every time, I love the underground in the UK, in London. Every time I'm on a train and it says, you have arrived at your destination, mind the gap, I immediately think that I'm no idiot. I haven't arrived at my destination yet. I have still thousands of years counting minutes and seconds to arrive at my destination. And the first thing I tell my students, I give sort of voluntary and free theater classes every time I get a chance. And to young people only. I go to the university, like the universities like Chapman, and I throw a workshop for 2 or 3 days and teach them how to act. The very first thing I say as soon as I get into the classroom is that if any of you is here for fame and fortune, allow me to tell you right now, it's a wrong class. You're in the wrong place. I didn't start it because of fame and fortune. I started it for the sake of acting because I am in love with telling other people's stories. I'm a storyteller. I didn't start because I wanted to become famous or rich. I started because I wanted to tell stories. So let's start from there.
That is beautiful. That is dedication to the craft, not that doesn't have a purpose like being famous, but it's just passion. So, and it's crazy because for the English language listeners of this podcast, Shohreh means in Persian means famous girl. So he was born to be famous. I was watching this video of Sadhguru, the Indian mentor, the other day, and he said something great. He said, I wish none of your dreams come true because they are bounded by your imagination and desires. I wish things you never even could have dreamed of come true. And that's beautiful. That means not having a very specific purpose of doing something and get, cold feet by it. It's great.
Sadhguru is one of my, I don't want to say guru because he keeps saying that don't call me a guru. Yeah. Like Krishnamurti. I started with Krishnamurti. Yeah. I fell in love when I was young and his philosophy. And there came Sadhguru. I try to watch him nearly every night before I go to sleep.
Oh, man, I do it every day. That's crazy.
Both his followers. He was here. He came to see Will Smith.
Oh,
Will Smith next to us, very close by. He came to see Will Smith on his motorbike.
Ah.
Believe it. He drives in Los Angeles on his motorbike.
You guys should meet. I want to listen. I want to listen to you and Sadhguru speak. Man, you had a crazy journey in life. That's gonna be awesome. Please do it. I don't know.
I'll do my best. Yeah. I didn't know he was going to come as close.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have asked. I would have said something.
Yeah. I'm gonna call Will Smith after this interview. Yo.
Yes. By the way,
hook him up with Shohreh, man.
Yes. Tell him, why didn't you invite Shohreh when Sadhguru came around?
You mean, man. All right. So the audience of this podcast are mostly gamers and game developers. They might not be aware of your history. Can you very, very briefly tell them bullet points of your life? Because I really want them to hear it from you. And I really suggest people to read The Alley of Love and Yellow Jasmine's Shohreh's autobiography to know more about her amazing journey. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, I thought we were doing something.
No. Yeah, I was finished.
Well, it's a hard one.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. But to sum it up, I started acting on stage when I was 19 years old. By the age of 26, I was already on my way to success, as we call it. Successful young actress in Iranian cinema. I left Iran at the time of the revolution. At the age of 26, I drove to Europe, to London, sold my car, sold my jewelry, went to university, and I started studying political science, international relations, because I wanted to know what was going on in the whole world, politically speaking. I didn't want to act again, although I was very successful in Iran, but I decided that I wanted to become a politician. And I was trying to find a job. I found a job at my favorite newspapers, the Guardian back then. And they told me that I would have to start from the dungeon, basement, putting the papers together. And I said, I really don't care where I start from as long as I work for Guardian. Went home. A dear friend of mine who recently passed away 3 days or 4 days ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Cardon called me and told me that I need an amazing writer, director, stage especially. And he said that I have written a play for you. And I said, you know, perhaps I'm not acting anymore. And he said, I understand, but since I had you in mind when I wrote this play, do you mind reading it and let me know how you feel about it? I'm going to give it to another actress to play this role, but just because I have written it with you in mind. I said, okay, that little actress in me woke up and said, okay, send it over. I read it and I fell in love with it. It was a political play. And I thought, wait a second, maybe this way I could be even more helpful to my people. The reason I studied politics was the fact that I wanted to find out what was wrong, what went wrong, what kind of people were responsible, what can I do for my compatriots, for my fellow compatriots. And when I read the play, I realized that there are artists who say that I don't get political. I talk through my work of art. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do the same thing because this makes a lot of sense to me. People would pay more attention to this play than to say a speech at any conventions. So I did the play with him, ever so successful. We sold out throughout Europe. And then we came to the US, sold out everywhere. I made $63,000. And I could have not believed it. I was really I was working at 3 places to make the ends meet. And now I have $63,000 and I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? We come to Los Angeles. We have a performance at the Horace Mann Auditorium. It only sits 600 people, but 1,000 people have shown up. Hundreds of them don't have tickets. They're pushing and shoving, and the director, Parviz Gordon, God rest his soul, comes to the makeup room and he says, I don't know what to do, Shohreh, but there are hundreds of them out there don't have tickets and they want to get in. And I'm like, they're going to learn their lessons next time. They're not going to be 90-minute people. They're going to buy their tickets in advance. And we're going to have more performances here. And then I heard a bang. They pushed and shoved so badly that they broke the glass on the entrance door. And that bloody glass was ever so expensive. Again, the director, Paris, comes to the makeup room and says, you're not going to believe this. They broke the door. They broke the glass. It's damn expensive. And I said, doesn't matter. It was a great sign for us. It is expensive. We pay it. It doesn't matter. But it was a sign for us, trying to tell us, this is the place that you have to live in. A place, a city, a town in which people will break the entrance door to get in and to see the play. This is where I'm coming to reside. And I did. I went back to England, to the UK. I didn't have much. I had a small studio. My only expensive materials were my sound system, Bang & Olufsen, because I have this thing for great voices, for music. And the only money that I was willing to spend money on was my sound system. And I sold it for a good price. So I sold everything, migrated to the US, started working with a dear friend of mine, another dear friend of mine, who's also an actor and playwright, Hushain Tuzi. After a couple of months, he proposed, and I was waiting for him to propose because I had noticed that he's interested in me, and I was interested in him too, because although some of my friends were suggesting that I should marry a millionaire and live a luxury life, and I kept telling them that I don't need to marry a millionaire. I would become a millionaire myself, but I have to become somebody first and then get married. So I wasn't into getting married to someone, with fame and fortune. I was planning to get married with someone who would understand me, who would preferably come from my own tribe of actors and showbiz people. And I accepted, and it was in the middle of the night. There was no way to get married right there and then. So we had to fly to Las Vegas. In the middle of the night, we flew to Las Vegas at Elvis Presley's chamber, a pink chamber. It's beautiful with Elvis's pictures all over. And
Viva Las Vegas, then.
We started living together. Viva Las Vegas. Working together. I went to an audition, and I didn't like the way she greeted me, because as soon as I got in, a friend of mine was telling me that I should go to auditions. I shouldn't waste my time. So I went to an audition. I got in, and the casting director, as soon as I stepped in, she was young, fairly young, and she looked at me, my age, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, no. I'm looking for a downtrodden Middle Eastern woman. You're too beautiful for this role. Go home." Oh, no. I was so offended. I thought, this woman not just did, just offended me, but also she's trying to tell me that I don't know how to act. You want to be a downtrodden Middle Eastern woman? I paid for you. I'm an actor. Nothing to do with my face. Anyhow, so I came home and I told my husband, I said, playwright, I said, you know what? This industry is not ready for us. Let's start taking our plays on tours. And he started writing. We started recruiting our own, as I jokingly call them, our own Ingmar Bergman's group. And then we started touring around the globe, except for the Middle East. We toured around Australia, Canada, Europe, US, everywhere, except for the Far East and the Middle East. Until I was discovered in 2003. House of Sand and Fog was being made. They were looking for an actress to play this role. I wasn't here. I was in Europe. I wasn't here. I was in Europe working on another tour. And apparently they had announced in Iranian radios and television that they're looking for this woman, for this actress to play this role. And apparently 300 housewives and actors and singers did audition for this role. But the director wasn't happy. So I'm back from Europe. I'm in my office. The phone rings. And the lady on the phone is asking for Shohreh Aghdashloo. That's not my name, but it's very
dark witch spell.
Exactly. That's my name. Where did you get my name? And she's looking for an actress to play this role. And we have asked Iranian shop owners, keepers in Westwood and Beverly Hills, and which they're mostly Iranians, and asked them who their favorite actress is, and they all gave us your name. And I said, "Can I ask what this is regarding?" And she said, "The House of Sand and Fog." And I went speechless, because the year before I'd read the book. Oprah brought the book into her book club. She had a weekly book club. She talked about books and she interviewed the writers. I saw that interview with Andre Dubus III and the writer, and she kept asking him, how did he know so much about Iranians? And he said that he used to date an Iranian girl, and that's how he knows so much about Iranians. And obviously, he's a writer. He comes from a tribe of writers. His father was a writer. He won an Oscar for the movie In the Bedroom. So you can imagine, brilliant writer. And when I was reading it a year before, there was no talk about this turning into a movie. And we were on another journey to San Francisco for another theatrical tour. And I was still reading it in the car. My husband said, "You're going to get dizzy. Don't read in the car." And I said, "Doesn't matter. I have to finish this." What happens to this movie? My husband said, "Why are you so angry?" I said, "If one day they make a movie out of this book and they don't give me this role, it would be very unfair of them. There's no democracy in this country." You're such a political animal. What has it got to do with democracy?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, actually, I rewatched the film like 3 weeks ago. What a masterpiece. That ending is always, man, makes me cry. Yeah, so what an awesome career. So then you've been involved in video games like Mass Effect and Destiny games. So as a storyteller, what do you think of this medium, video games?
I am loving it, to be honest with you. Even way before I started Mass Effect, I loved video games because I played it with my daughter.
Wow.
She was, I only have one, and I wanted to be her friend. Therefore, excuse me, I wanted to be her friend. Therefore, I had to learn the name of the bands that she liked when she was 13, 14 years old.
Oh, that's sweet.
There's the name of the musicians. And oh boy, they have really difficult names, and the band's long. But I had to do it. Playing games, video games with her was one of them, to let her know that at heart I'm still young. The child within is still alive. Let us play together. Let us be friends. Because she didn't have any siblings. That's why I started playing games with her, and I fell in love with playing games. When Mass Effect came around, I was like, I cannot believe this. Now I can play with my own game with my daughter, including the fact that I was going to play Admiral Watanabe. Who's going to give me a chance to play an admiral? Except for the games. Yes, let's do the Admiral Watanabe. Another thing I loved about it when I started doing it was the fact that there's no makeup involved. There's no hair. There's no costumes. You just go in there in your pair of jeans and your t-shirt, and you have the whole world at your disposal to be as imaginative as you can be. And this is my favorite part, because what I love about acting is the imagination part of it. And I love to improvise beforehand or on the moment, on the day. But I do a lot when I'm reading a screenplay. I'm thinking, what if I do this? What if I do that? What if I give him a slap? What if I don't say anything? What if I cry here? But obviously, I take all these sort of pre-thoughts with me to the set, and then I would leave myself open up to anything that happens to me, and to react simultaneously and to be as fast as possible. In other words, to live under my own skin but be someone else. And it's just incredible.
Yeah, and then there are a lot of sci-fi movies, video games. I think they were kind of influenced by Mass Effect. For example, The Expanse, The Destiny. Both happens in kind of like a futuristic sci-fi time, where people involved in making those were kind of inspired by your role in Mass Effect to kind of like give you this role.
Well, I bet you that they must have something to do with each other, if not visible beneath the earth. Somehow they are interconnected. That I cannot deny. Has to be. James S.A. Corey, Ty Frank, and Daniel Abraham, the writers, the novelists of The Expanse, or the writer of Mass Effect writers, or Destiny, or any other games that is trying to send some true messages into our subliminals, trying to tell us that if this is the way you're acting, then this is your future. We're going to show you what your future is going to be like if you want to go ahead and act the way that you've been acting so far. For example, The Expanse, my TV series, has received amazing reviews, not even one bad review, but they're all amazing. My favorite comes from a scientist. The scientist says, 2.5 pages, he proves to you as to why The Expanse is one of the most accurate versions of the future. If we are going to live the same way, pollute our air, contaminate our oceans, do not take care of our nature, this is how we're going to end. And they're all trying to say the same thing.
Exactly.
Destiny, Mass Effect, Expanse have these visionary men behind them.
Exactly. They're influenced. They're influenced by a current time, and they kind of telling what's going on in the future. And the similarity between them is kind of scary because it means that they're right. Yeah. So your career is immortal. My father was the fan of your Iranian movies. My big brother, fan of your Western movies. I'm a film junkie and a fan of Mass Effect. My nephew is the fan of Destiny and Expanse. What is the key in any form of art or career to be this fresh and up to date? How do you push it forward and experience new things?
It starts when you wake up and you look at the day as a new day in your life. If you wake up with the same amount of either sorrow or happiness that you went to sleep with, you are carrying the baggages with you from yesterday to today, and most probably to tomorrow. What you need to do, what I do every night I go to bed, I just think briefly about what I did during the day. Was I useful? Did I call so-and-so? Did I forget to do this? Should I do that again? And then I thank myself for being productive. I'm like, okay, you did good, Shohreh. Patronizing myself, wherever. Now you can go to sleep and try to think of something different for tomorrow. And when I wake up, I look at the day as a totally different day. Nothing to look at in relation to yesterday or 1,000 years ago. Because for me, yesterday is an equivalent of 1,000 years ago. There's nothing I can do about what took place in yesterday. But I can change it, or I can try to change my path or find a new way of expressing myself rather than carrying on with the same thing that hasn't been successful and has been just, has caused stress for me. Because stress is the only thing that I do not want to deal with. Take a look at everything as something new. For example, when we were children, we go out, like 5, 6 years old, we go to the backyard, or we see a flower and we look at the flower. It's the first time we're seeing this flower, and we're looking at the flower and we're thinking, what a beautiful creature. How many wings does it have? What are these things right in the middle of it? What color is it? Is it pink? Is it purple? Wow. When you look at it as a new thing in your life, you pay more attention to it. You absorb, observe, and it makes you feel happy that you have connected with a beautiful thing in your life, in today's world. Therefore, you feel fresh. Don't think about the years you've lost. Think about the years you have ahead.
Yeah, the way you think and you think about your daily life so refreshing as something new, and therefore the world will give you something new. And it's a beautiful connection you have with your day, with your time. Yeah. It's a give or take.
It takes exactly. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
You cannot just sit back and say, God will come and help.
Yeah.
Or so promised it's going to give me a job in this film. They're going to call me. No.
Exactly.
You cannot count on the other. If I keep telling my students, if there aren't any jobs around, create one. Would you like to act? Write a story. Actors are storytellers. True actors are storytellers. There are actors who are born actors. There are actors who love this profession. We have a lot of them in Hollywood. They're not born actors, but they're brilliant performers because they have worked on themselves. They've taught themselves how to act, what to do. They have a bunch of direct coaches and acting coaches and this and that. And they're shining out in Hollywood, but they're not really, they weren't born actors.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make a difference. As long as you're active and determined that you want to be an actor, that you want to be a director, that you want to be a storyteller, then create one. Tell a story. Write a love letter to humanity and read it for me on a social platform. Let me listen to your letter of love to humanity. Do something, be creative, and then something will happen out of it. But you cannot just sit back and say, I'm not lucky. Chance is not going to come and knock at my door. I don't believe in that. I believe in sort of marginalizing yourself, taking yourself to a corner and labeling yourself with not lucky enough, bad fortune, and this and that. Because you're literally asking for it.
Yeah, that's great. So, all right, kids, we're about to change the language here. If you don't know Farsi, it's sad you're losing many beautiful poems. But most importantly, the second part of this conversation, I bid you guys farewell. Thank you for watching.